Generally, there are 5 different ways to make money from sports betting. Number 1, match betting. If you've heard of that before, it is a way to turn bookmaker deposit offers, bonus deposit offers, or just bonus bets in general into real money, risk-free. Number 2 is arbitrage betting, which is betting 2 sides of the equation on a sports game. Let's just say a game between Arsenal and Manchester United. Over under 2.5 goals. You bet both over 2.5 goals and under 2.5 goals on either side, and no matter what happens in the game, however many goals there are, you make a profit. Number 3 is value betting, which kind of explains itself. It's basically just finding value on the sports betting market. So if you think Arsenal are a 50% chance of beating Manchester United on the weekend, but there are odds of 2.05 or 2.1 or 2.2, anything above even odds, which is 2, then you found a value bet. Number 4 is trading, or also known as live betting. So betting on a game while it's in play, when it's live, and trying to make a profit that way. And number 5 is following tipsters or touts. In other words, paying someone a subscription fee or per bet fee, whatever it is, to get their picks. They're some kind of expert or professional, paying them for their tip and then following that tip. So today I'm going to go through all of those 5 methods and explain which one is the best to use and why. And a lot of it will depend on your situation, whether you're just getting started, whether you're experienced, all these kind of things. But before I get started, if this is your first time on the channel, please make sure you subscribe to the channel and click the bell so you get a notification every time we post a video like this.
It is a scam when you don't allow everyone to operate on fair terms.
We are the Robin Hoods of sports betting. We take something back from the rich bookies and enable our customers to beat them instead.
The first method I'm going to go through today is match betting. Now, I think this is the perfect way to get started in your sports betting journey. If you are a beginner, someone that doesn't have really any experience in sports betting and just wants to get a foot in the door. So perfect for someone who has 0 betting accounts, who's basically going to open a brand new betting account for the first time. And the reason that is because the most money you can make from match betting is through sign up offers. So for example, especially if you live somewhere like the UK or Europe, from my time living in Norway, it was great. Every time you went to sign up at a new sports book, a pretty standard offer would be deposit 100 euros, 100 pounds into your bookmaker, and we'll match that and give you a bonus bet back in 100 euros back. So you can use that money to turn that into real money, risk-free, via match betting. If you want to know more about the ins and outs of match betting, I'll link a video up here that you can learn more about match betting. But in general, match betting is perfect for people who live in countries that offer great deposit sign-up kind of offers. You can also do match betting with bonus bets. But I think mostly it's perfect for people who are just getting started and have a very small bankroll. Maybe their bankroll is, $100, $200, $1,000, something like that. And you just want to get that bankroll as big as possible without taking any risk at all. Obviously, there is risk if you make a mistake, but generally, if you make no mistakes, then it's completely risk-free, and you can turn that $1,000 bankroll into potentially all the way up to $5,000, I would say, if you're just doing match betting. So overall, I think this is the best method to use if you're just getting started in sports betting and want to grow your bankroll to as big as possible before trying out some other methods. Number 2 is Arbing, or arbitrage betting. I would say this is probably my least favorite way to make money from sports betting for various reasons. But I would say for people who want to use it, it's probably quite good for people who can't handle any losing at all, because yes, there's obviously risk, if you make a mistake or if the odds move too quickly on arbitrage betting. But generally, it's completely risk-free and you're going to make a profit no matter what happens on a sports betting game. But overall, I think this is, in my opinion at least, the worst way to make money from sports betting. Yes, you're going to make money no matter what, but I think you are much better sticking with one side of the equation of the sports bet, the side of because essentially you're placing 2 bets. I think you're better sticking with the side of the bet that is the plus EV bet, that has the massive value bet, in other words, because the more of those you place in the long term, mathematically, you are going to make money from sports betting. Yes, it's not guaranteed, but the chances are pretty significant that you are going to make money from sports betting long term. And if you keep hedging off that risk, if you keep taking negative EV on the other side, you're only depleting the amount of money that you could possibly make in the long term. Yes, it'll make you money from sports betting, but I think you're better off, if you are willing to take more risk, and you're going to make more money in the long term. Number 3 is value betting, and this is exactly what I was just talking about with arbitrage betting. Just taking one side of that bet, taking a lot more risk, I understand that, but you're making plus EV bets that in the long term you should win mathematically from sports betting. Now, before I go into whether this is a good method to use to make money from sports betting, it's important to know there are so many different ways you can value bet. For one, and I'm talking about pre-match value betting here. For one, you could use the software like Trademate Sports. I'm sorry to put a plug in there, but it's just an example of something you can use where they'll find inefficiencies in the market, places where bookmakers are too slow to adjust their odds. You could also build yourself a model. You could also do game analysis, come up with your own number on a game. You know, maybe you watch a lot of the English Premier League and you know that a certain team should be much lower in odds than they are now. Those kind of ways. Steam chasing, all these kind of ways that you can make money just through pre-match value betting. The thing is, a lot of these ways, like steam chasing, building models, they're very advanced ways to make money, value betting, or just in sports betting in general. It's very hard when you're a beginner or someone who's maybe even at an intermediate level to make money from when you're just getting started. It's very, very difficult to beat the sports betting market, especially when we're talking about markets like the English Premier League, these huge markets where the biggest sports bettors in the world are playing. You also don't really want to be doing value betting if you're inexperienced, because there's going to be a lot of swings either way. And if you're not ready or if you're not well equipped to handle those swings in terms of educated as to why they're happening, then you can really be found out and you might quit prematurely, or you could go on a massive winning run, think you're invincible, double your stakes, triple your stakes, etc. And next thing you know, you've lost everything you've made. So in general, I would say value betting is something for people that are quite advanced in their sports betting. The only reason I think you should be doing value betting when you're just getting started, or at least maybe a couple months in, is if you're using a software like Trademate Sports where it does all the work for you. But even then, if you're using a software like Trademate Sports and you go on a massive downswing and you don't understand why, because you just haven't spent enough time sports betting, you haven't educated yourself, then you're probably going to make some poor decisions as to whether you should keep going or not keep going. So I would say overall, value betting is something for the more, at the very least, an intermediate kind of level better, because you want to be pretty well educated on how it all works. Number 4, trading. I think this is pretty similar to value betting, something that can be a very valuable way to make money from sports betting, but it takes lots of experience, lots of time to master your craft, and overall, yes, it's great in the long term. If you can get to a point, maybe 5-10 years down the track, where you're an expert in the area, then it's arguably the best way to make money from sports betting through trading, in-play, live betting, all that kind of stuff. But it's going to take a long time for you to master that trade. There are sports bettors out there who have been betting almost professionally or at very big level or good level for 5 years and still aren't profitable traders. So it's another skill that you really need to work on, and it'll take time to master. So overall, I would only recommend this to people similar to value betting, to people who've got a lot of time to dedicate this, especially time on the weekends too, because most games are being played on the weekend. So you've got to be at your computer, at your desk, ready to go for weekend games or matches. So I would only really recommend this to professionals or people who maybe they haven't got too much to do on the weekend and really want to have a good crack at trying to beat the market trading, because it's going to take you a lot of time and a lot of effort to master the skill. Number 5 is following tipsters or touts. And I would say overall, most people are going to tell you that this is probably a good way to get started in the industry, good way to get, making money from sports betting. as a beginner or maybe even intermediate kind of level, just because you probably don't have the time, you probably have another job, and this is just kind of a side hustle, and you don't have the time to go and find bets yourself, maybe not enough time to do match betting. So follow a few other guys who are experts, who have a long-term, winning record, and you can win that way. The issue for me is that when you're at a beginner level, you don't know anything about sports betting. You don't know what winning looks like. You don't know how to stake. You don't know much about the industry. Like, these things are just completely new concepts to people that are new to the industry. So if you're following a tipster and they go on a good run, a bad run, an okay run, etc., etc., you're not able to interpret those results as anything other than what the actual results are. Because a lot of the time, a bad run for a tipster or a good run for a tipster could realistically mean the opposite of what's happening with their results. They could be, they could have won their last 10 out of 10 bets, but they could have just been very lucky and they're not beating the market, and long term they're not going to be winners. Could be the other way around. Could lose their first 10 bets with them and they've smashed the closing line on every single bet. They're doing everything they can. Just, with sports betting, luck hasn't been on their side. So I think people will say, follow tipsters from an early going in your sports betting journey, just because it takes no expertise at all. It takes you very little time to place the bets that they offer. But for me, I think you are much better off following tipsters if you're an experienced sports bettor and you understand what to look for, some of the red flags, and you'll understand what you need to find in a tipster's record, how many bets have they placed, all this kind of stuff. If you're beginning, you've got no idea about this kind of stuff. So you really could be walking into a path that is dangerous, could lose you a lot of money. Or, you could walk away from a tipster who's on a bad run, who is most likely in the long term going to win. So for me, I would say you should only really be following tipsters if you believe you know 95% about everything sports betting. If I wrote a book on sports betting, everything you need to know, that you know about 90, maybe 80% of it, something like that. So you're able to judge at a certain point on a tipster after a certain number of bets, yes, this person's going to be profitable long term, or they are not. So overall, going through everything I've talked about today, I probably haven't given you a concrete best method to use when you're doing sports betting, whether it be match betting, arbing, following tipsters, value betting, trading. I think the way I would look at it is this. If you are a beginner, I would say the best method is probably match betting to get started, grow your bankroll. I would then say the next step, once you've run out of sign-up deposit offers, is to then look at something like value betting or trading, whatever you think suits your style, what sports you're knowledgeable in, all this kind of stuff. Let's for example say you move on to then value betting, look at a software like Trademate, or just learn exactly why something like Trademate works, why value betting works, just educate yourself on those kind of things. Then you can maybe move into something like match analysis, making up your own odds on the game, modeling, steam chasing, all this kind of stuff. And then once you are getting very good at picking out value in the market and beating closing lines, then I would say you can look at adding some tipsters to that, your portfolio of betting. Really up the volume, really, just expand your edges, I guess, in different sports. Say when you do value betting, you become an expert at one sport, like soccer, let's just say, go and start following tipsters in other sports like tennis, basketball, MMA, these kind of things, and expand that portfolio and, make a profit and really up that volume, because the more volume you can get down on plus EV bets, the better you'll be in the long term. But hopefully you enjoyed today's video. Thanks everyone for watching, and once again, please make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell so you get a notification next time we post a video like this. Cheers.